This is Threshold Production.
What is going on? This is Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman, and you're checking into Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast where we help you tap into your full potential. And before we even get started this week, this is a parental advisory warning for this episode. So for my listeners who listen, regularly, I curse every now and then. I say what I got to say. There has been some episodes with certain guests where I just keep it 100% clean, but I got my dog with me today, and pretty much this episode is gonna be like we are sitting at a bar, or when I was in South Carolina, where we were eating boiled peanuts and having a drink, having dinner, and just having a real conversation. That's what today is gonna be. So I'm excited to have my dog with me all the way from Charleston, South Carolina. We're gonna talk about everything, fatherhood, being the girl dad, being the dad, how maneuvering through business and fatherhood, some of the things that he like to do. So again, this is going to be an exciting episode because it's going to be like we are letting you all just sit in on us while we're having conversations and we're having a drink and just chilling. So without further ado, let me bring my dog to the stage. What's going on, Tradd? What's popping?
What's up? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. It's exciting to have this conversation. Like, I've reached out. I'm like, bro, it was a long overdue. Like, man, we got to go ahead, hop on here, and just talk about a lot of things, just catch up and just shoot the shit.
I mean, I've been waiting. I've been waiting. I was like, damn, you know, what's up?
Well, here we are. We gonna get to it. And one thing I like to say is like whenever we get together, like we're able to hang out. Like we were just in San Antonio together. Before that, we was in Vegas. Like we just have a good time, bro. Like we go out, we have a good time. And the beautiful thing about it is being able to be around people where you're having a good time, but also people that push you to be better. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes people have people that they're around that's just only a good time. But having
Yeah,
people that you can associate with where it's a good time and they're about business, they're doing the things they need to do, it forces you to do the same thing too.
yeah, 100%, man. Like that's what I love about going to those events and stuff is seeing people that, you know, I know they're out there and we're all working, and it's just nice to be able to come together, have fun, and then still kind of chop up shop and see what's working, see what isn't. And sometimes that's a humbling lesson too. I mean, you've got some people that are skyrocketing their business and you feel like you're kind of stagnant. You're like, okay, what the hell am I doing wrong? And then you talk with them and like, oh, we're struggling through the whole thing. I mean, so it's just cool to have those interactions with people and them be authentic with you about their business as well.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because I think you brought up a good point where there's people that I've talked to or I coach and they're like, they have that imposter syndrome or feel like they shouldn't be in certain rooms. But yet you just brought up a good point of when you do get in the room with those people that are doing things, they share the same struggles that you're having, that they're having as well. So it helps you look at it from a different perspective of like, okay, yes, they're maybe doing things at a higher level, but they're dealing with the same struggles I'm dealing with. And at the end of the day, if they're still able to work through it, they're still able to do that, I can come out on the other side of the stuff that I'm struggling with too.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, I think the biggest thing is, um, you know, you get to a point in your business where you're like, okay, I've got this. This is like standard operating procedure. Like I should be able to hit this number every year without even blinking an eye, unless it's something catastrophic happens. I should be good. Now, how do I get to the next level? And the struggle that I had going through that, and before I moved over to KW, was just I didn't have the leverage in place that I needed to get to that next level. And then then life happens to you. I mean, like It doesn't matter if it's, like for me, it would divorce and, people have like lose family members, whatever. It takes you out of your, your top 20% because you're focused on life. And it sometimes will start lifing on you and you got to take a break and reassess and then get back into it. And that was what was really cool about, having that outlet with other agents to kind of talk through that because they had been through similar situations or could at least give me a sounding board to help kind of guide me through it and be like, listen, it's just going to suck for a little while. Just know that
Yeah.
and you'll be fine. So,
Yeah, so let's go into that a little bit where divorce situation happened. How were you able to still show up and do the things you needed to do with that situation happen? Because I know that can be, just stressful on so many different fronts. So, what was the mindset for you of like still showing up, still doing the things you needed to do with having that situation going on?
I mean, I'll be straight with you, man. That was last year was the best year of my career net profit wise. And I was going through a divorce. I started separation in January of last year. In South Carolina, it takes a year to be separated, and then you file for divorce. So that whole year, um, the first half, I would say, was like a little bit rockier, like getting, there's still some emotions and all that stuff between me and my ex, and now everything's kind of smoothed over, so it's
No.
not as volatile. But yeah, there's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of uh, just routines changing. I mean, that was the biggest thing that I realized really quick is that, I didn't have to be anywhere at a specific time after I was done with work. And it just kind of screwed me up there for a little bit. The freedom was great, but I liked my routine. So like
Yeah.
it kind of messed with my business for a little bit too, because when I was off my personal routine it messed up my business routine. So I'm still trying to kind of get back into that like fully. But so I would say, I kept showing up to work. I mean, like that was the biggest thing is just going into the office every day and still doing, what I'm supposed to do. But to be honest, man, I felt like I was like there's no way that I was going to do as much business as I did last year. I mean, like when I got to the end of the year, I was like, how the hell did I do? How did I do
Yeah.
that? You
Yeah.
know, because it was just a lot to navigate. So I mean, like
Right.
that's yeah.
Yeah. And you brought up something that a lot of people don't realize is that you said, with your personal, shit going on personally, it kind of affected, at first, it kind of affected the business side. And a lot of people don't realize that well, a lot of times those things go hand in hand where business side, you could be doing great there, but it could probably affect your personal side a little bit in a positive and negative way, and vice versa. So, just you recognizing that and you started putting the pieces to the puzzle together, it was helping you maneuver, through that situation.
Yeah, I mean, and the like, the biggest thing was once that initial, um, I don't want to say shock, but the initial shock of it all kind of wears off, then you can kind of get back into, okay, this is happening. This is the path we're taking, and here's how it's going to lay out. And then I start, looking at going, okay, so how much money is this going to like? It took us probably 8 months to get our mediation done to figure out how much I was going to be paying per month and all that kind of stuff, all while I'm not living in my house, but I'm still paying for everything.
Yeah.
Which and then having a slow start to the year was just like it was rough, man. I mean, it got better, obviously, but it was a lot to take on in those first 3 months. I mean, that first quarter was. I mean, I think I did like I don't know, like $40,000 in the first quarter, which is not enough. So, so yes, I mean, like I think that once you get past that initial spot, then you can kind of build on it and lean into other people that have gone through it and kind of walk through that. And I mean, the biggest thing that I heard over and over is just like, it's gonna get better. It's gonna suck.
Yeah.
It will get better. You know what I mean? Like it'll get better. Just keep pushing forward and try to be as amicable as possible throughout the whole thing. Is the only that's the kids are the only thing that matter. I'm like 100%. That's where I'm at. But that money piece too is when it's not coming in, it gets a little. little stressful. So
Yeah. Now, was there some things that you were able to do? 'Cause so I'll explain where I'm going with it. Like I've, had past guests that like if certain situations they was dealing with, they were able to lean on certain things to help them, during those days where shit was just, weighing heavy on them. If that was journaling, going to work out, like was there some things that you were able to lean on to help you through those initial parts where things was just rough? That some people that's going through it now or going to be going through it, like they could use that for their self.
yeah, I mean, I there's a lot of tequila, that's for sure. A lot of tequila. Um, I don't necessarily recommend that to everyone, but it was good. I mean, like I would go and I made some new friends at different bars and go hang out and bullshit. And I mean, like it wasn't like crazy, like I wasn't raging, but it was just good to have like someone that doesn't know anything about me and find somebody to bullshit with. You know,
Yeah.
that was cool. And then I did a lot more traveling last year. Um, than I did previously, which, and this and into this year too. Like, I mean, that was cool because I mean, like, I did a lot of, I did some conferences and I did some like
Yeah.
fun, like vacation travel too. So that was different than what I'm used to. I mean, we didn't go that much. I mean, I've got, I don't know, a couple more this year already. I got a baseball tournament in Arizona at the end of October. But, um, but yeah, man, like, I will say this, I fell off the gym pretty hard. That was the first thing that kind of went. I wasn't really eating great. I mean, like I wasn't doing fast food, but I was eating out more often than
Yeah.
not, as far as just like going to restaurants and stuff. And so like I've kind of curbed all that and have gotten into a little bit better routine with food. The gym I still struggle with. We're working on that, but my gym actually is under construction, so that's gonna be my
Oh,
excuse. Um, but um, but yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just you know talking with people. Like that was the biggest thing for me, and whether that's if I was going out on a date or talking with buddies or whatever, but just kind of talking through the situation
yeah.
and not necessarily like you know bashing the other person by any means, but just like walking through what that was, how we got to where we were or where we are, and then what that looks like for kids and getting advice. I mean, like that's the other thing that I found with this is, the more I talk about it, the more people reach out to me and going, "Hey man, I'm going through the same shit." And I'm
Yeah.
like, I mean, listen, call me if you have any questions. I mean, I'm not saying I know everything, but happy to be a sounding board because I had that for myself. Like one of my clients was actually the first person that I went to when we decided to get divorced. I was like, listen, man, I need to understand. I need to grab a beer. I'll buy them, and let's chat because you literally just went through this like
Yeah.
6 months prior. Like, what do I need to know? And so he gave me some good advice on just things to kind of look out for. And I think the biggest thing for me was just staying positive and calm in situations because it's a heightened emotional state for everybody.
Yeah.
And you don't want to add fuel to the fire by losing your cool, and it's not easy, but
Yeah.
um, you just gotta stay the course.
Yeah. So it's two things I got from that. And one thing you said that I don't want it to go over people's head. And this is something I've had to learn too of. You have to have people in your corner or meet people that you can have those conversations with, because the worst thing we could do is keep that shit in, like no matter what the situation, whatever you're going through. And again, that
Yep.
is something that was a big struggle for me because I've always been a person to like shit happen, bottle it up, deal with it myself, and just keep
Throw
moving.
it
And
back. Yeah.
yeah, and that has caused a lot of personal damage for myself, and possibly for others. So it's like I don't want people to just hear you say that and they just breeze past it. Like, no, you have to be able to get things out and have a conversation. Because what we know, even just having somebody to vent to, like you feel a
Oh
lot
yeah.
better.
Yeah. And I mean, I did therapy for the first probably like 4 months, I guess, after we got separated, which was good. I stopped doing it because the guy just kept telling me how great of a job I was doing. I'm like, so why am I paying? Why am I paying you? Like, if I'm doing so great, what are you doing? So it's funny. I mean, like, I probably should go back and just have like a checkup. I don't know. I don't know if that's even a thing, but yeah, man, I think you hit it. I mean, and the other key thing too is having those people in your corner, not only that you can vent to and talk with, but that understand either they're not there to fix the problem, which
Yeah.
I struggle with 1,000%. I've learned, and I don't do it every time, but I've learned to ask, do you want me to listen or do you want me to fix it? Because if you want me to fix it, I'll go all in and do all the things. If you just want me to listen, then I'll just keep my mouth shut as best I can because it's real
Yeah.
hard, but I will listen. So I mean, like, having those people, and the you know I'm sure you've got some people that are in your corner that want to fight for you, and it's like, I don't
Yeah.
need that. Like, I don't need
Yeah.
you to get angry for me. Like, I'm if I'm good with it, then you should be good with it. You know what I mean? You shouldn't create this. And I think that's one of the things that me and my ex kind of talked about too, is just like, uh hers was more so like, I would date somebody that wouldn't want me to like give her money or whatever. I was like, I'd tell them to fuck off because
Yeah.
you're the mother of my children. You're taking care of them. Like, I don't want you to be struggling, while you're
Yeah.
getting everything situated. So like, those people, that just tells me they're not good people, and they will be out of my life immediately. So,
Yep.
um, but so saying like same. I mean, it doesn't have to be to that extent. Somebody you're dating, but just friends. Even if they're fueling that fire, it's not helping you. You need people that are calm and collected and listen and come with advice that, they're not telling you what to do, but they're like, hey, here's how I did it, or
Yeah.
here's something to look out for.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, and to that point, I like you brought that up is like, and this is for you all listening, that you could be that friend that somebody come to, and what he just said is, hey, your response to your friend is, hey, how do you want me to respond to this? Do you want me to respond? Do you want me to just listen so you can, vent? Or do you want me to help with solutions to get around that? And then I know for me, I've had to, it's funny because I've had to add in an extra layer to that is I have to say, do you want me to respond as a coach? Because since I'm coaching, I have to ask that question now because I've caught in myself get into coach mode with
yep.
people. And I'm like, Jesse, no, you got to stop, bro. Like, do they want a friend? Do they want to just vent? Or do they want me to be a coach? So again, it has to be that communication both ways for you as the person that the person is feeling comfortable coming to, and then also if you are the one that's having to go with somebody, y'all have to have that understanding of what that's going to look like for that conversation.
100%.
Yeah.
100, and again, that's anything. It's not necessarily specific to my situation.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
anything and everything. I mean, business, dating, raising kids, all of it. It's paramount to me to have people that I can trust and go to, not only for like them to, you know potentially give me advice or just listen or whatever, but also to know that, like, when I am done talking with you, if it's something I don't want you to share, you're not sharing it, because
Yeah.
that's on me to tell people if I want to. It's not on, and so
Yeah.
that's another factor too. Because I mean, you can tell the wrong person some stuff and it can get out real quick, and you're like, man, what the fuck, man? Like,
Yeah.
I really don't care personally, but I'm an open book. But at the same point, just be cautious.
I mean, it's that quote that I heard that I loved of like, be careful who you vent to because vents go into different rooms. Like, it's like,
That's a
like
fact.
you really you have to be careful. And I want to, before we move on, I want to go back to another thing you said too, is where you was like, you know, keeping pretty much along the lines of keeping your emotions in check and things like that. That was another big thing that I had to learn of being more logical and not emotional, because you make better decisions if you keep yourself calm and then you think of it from a logical way. So that's, whatever that is, of giving yourself time to calm down or separate for the situation so you can think clearer. That way it's not adding fuel to the fire and shit just starts blowing up even worse because it's all emotion and not logic.
100%, man. And you can only, again, I'm not perfect. I still, mostly it's road rage, if anything else. But I mean, like, you get stuff in business that does that, and I've had to stop myself from responding to a text or an email or bite my tongue on a call because I'm like, is that going to move the needle forward, or is it just going to make it more difficult? Like,
Yeah.
yes, they're wrong. I know the right answer, but does me telling them the right answer and proving them wrong, does that really help the situation? I can fix it on the back end, but me being right isn't necessarily what's going to move the needle forward and get this deal across the finish line. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you pick your battles, and it's frustrating because then you feel like, for me at least, I feel like, well, I let them get away with something. It's
Yeah.
nobody fucking cares. At the end of the day, nobody's gonna remember. It's gonna be fine. Just keep doing you and don't get bogged down with all that shit.
It's crazy because, like, relating that to the real estate business, like, that is a big thing where a person, and I've caught myself doing this, so I'm not even finna say, oh, other people. Like, I've done this before where I just was so upset or pissed off with the other agent, and I'm like, no, we're not giving into this because they're gonna win. No, fuck that, we're not losing. And the client's like, bro, I don't care. Like,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
just
yeah.
get it done. And you're like, no, no, fuck this.
I know.
Like, and so it's like, to your point of like, man, we got to get that out of the way and just be like, okay, it doesn't matter about, and it comes to ego. It doesn't matter about the ego. It's like, what is going to be the best outcome? What is going to be the goal that we're looking to get to, and that other shit just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I've had deals where seller won't budge on anything, and then me and the other agent work out a deal where we give a credit to the buyer to make the deal go through, or the seller's willing to give some stuff but not willing to give it all, and then you got to go back to the buyer's agent and be like, hey, listen, these are reasonable requests, these kind of aren't. Can and that to me is probably the my biggest pet peeve with agents, is not setting the expectation with their clients ahead of
Yeah,
time of what's reasonable to request. Like, you're buying a used house, it ain't new.
yeah,
You're not like, it's going to have an older roof, older HVAC. As long as these things function, they don't need to be
mm,
fixed. Just because it's old, as long as it's working. I mean, we can ask for a credit, but we're not buying you a new one. Get the hell
yeah,
out of here. So, and then it's just willing, what the seller or your buyer is willing to, where they're willing to give, and where they're willing to not, where they're willing to stick to their guns. And
yeah,
I've had, uh, it's just tricky because you don't want to feel like you're talking anybody into anything. But at the
yeah,
same time, like, if they're being unreasonable, it's like, hey guys, listen, we had this conversation before we got the inspection. Now we got the inspection. Now there's a whole bunch of shit. We got a quote. All that shit costs X number of dollars. Why don't we
yeah,
ask for that number of dollars and just be done with it? And they're like, oh, well, that makes sense. I was like, I mean, yeah, it does.
yeah,
And so, it works or it doesn't. It just,
yeah.
but yeah, it's
But
just, it's keeping that level head, man. It's not, it's not impossible, but it's definitely gonna be difficult at times.
yeah, but that goes back to what we were just talking about of being logical over emotional. Like, when you come with facts and you say, "Hey, no, this is A, B, C, and D," it's like, okay, let's take that emotion completely out of it, and this is the facts. And they're like, "Oh, it makes sense. Yeah, okay, let's do that." Because again, it's thinking clearer and not being fogged by the emotion or the situation of what's going on, and you're able to maneuver better because you see clearer.
Yeah, and you don't, and you don't get your, like you said, you don't get your ego into it, you don't get your emotions into it. At the end of the day, my job is to help someone through the process of buying or selling a house. It's
Yeah.
not to have an opinion of what the house they want to buy, their budget, what they want to get fixed. I mean, like, we're going to get the deal done, or we won't. And I only play a role in that. I'm not the dictator of that process. So,
Yeah.
it's just knowing your client, and or whatever situation you're in, knowing the other person, and understanding how to best communicate with them to get the facts across so that they can make their own decision.
Yeah. All right, let's switch gears a little bit because, talk about fatherhood. Like, we're both girl dads. Like, talk to me about that, man. Like, I know how it is, how it feels for me. So I always like to talk to other dads and fathers of, like, the joy of being a girl dad. And because I know you ride bikes, and I remember I saw that you had posted a picture, and you had your daughters, they had bikes too. So I
Yep.
I know how my struggle is a little bit. So, what about for you of that balance of doing the things that dad love and you see you want to do ballerina and you want to do stuff like that. How what is that like for you?
Yeah, man. I mean, like I grew up playing baseball. I mean, I played a bunch of sports, but baseball was the main one. I got into dirt biking, you know, at 39, like 3 years ago, and it was my youngest at the time was probably 5, 4, something like that. And as soon as I got that dirt bike, she's like, "Dad, I want a bike like that." I'm like a bicycle? She's like, "No, no, no, like that." I'm like, "Okay, all right, I'm in trouble." And so, for all of you that don't know, your second child is the daredevil, at least
Oh
from what
yeah.
I understand, and mine for sure.
Hmm.
Um, she has zero fear. Um, it's a blessing and a curse. It is she is she is amazing and has no fear, but also is the one that gets banged up the most because of the same
Yes.
reason. But but yeah, I mean, I think like I want I want them to be able to try as much stuff as far as sports. Like
Yeah.
my ex is musically inclined, so they're learning how to play the piano. I really kind of wanted to, and we've talked about this before, I think too, like getting them in some kind of martial arts,
Yeah.
jujitsu, something like that, just for like the discipline aspect of it, and then you know the safety aspect too. I mean, like
Yeah.
you never know, and I don't want to go down that road because it's just stresses me out. But
Yeah.
I want them to be prepared for whatever life throws at them as best I can. And that's everything from changing a tire to changing your own oil to riding a dirt bike, whatever it is. I mean, driving a stick shift. They still have them by the time they're 18. I mean,
Right.
I'll
Right.
have one. But yeah, man, I think it's cool. I mean, like, you know, I don't have like I think some people come into their or look at their kids as an extension of themselves, and while that's kind of true, I don't want them to feel like I'm pushing something on them that
Yeah.
they don't necessarily want. Like I grew up playing baseball. My dad grew up playing baseball. He never was like, you have to play baseball. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't that kind of, it wasn't a requirement. So I wanted to, I kind of like that. I don't want to do that to them. But like, we were out at the beach the other day and my youngest again was like, "Hey, I want to learn how to surf." And so I had my dad's surfboard from the 70s, 60s, 70s, something like that. And I was like, "Cool, I'll bring out the surfboard. I learned on this. You can learn on it." First wave, I pushed her off, and she stood straight up, rode it all the way. And I'm like, "Of course." I mean, like that's what she does. And so
Right.
then I was like, "Okay, well, for her birthday, I'm gonna get her a surfboard." So like the way I look at it is specifically now that I don't have as much time with them, and I'm not in charge of you know the commuting them around and whatnot. I don't want to dictate to my ex what they're going to do. I mean, I've made suggestions. I'm like, "Hey, look, soccer, any sport really for Charlotte would be she would excel in. I mean,
Yeah.
like she's an athlete. Uh, my oldest, she's more musically inclined. She can sing like without even learning. I mean, it's wild. And then,
Yeah.
but she's not as athletic, and so she still plays and does stuff, just like not as quick to learn it, you know what I mean, or quick to
Yeah.
adjust to it. But both of them love the dirt bikes. I'm actually going to get them real dirt bikes. I got them electric ones for Christmas last year. So
Yeah.
sometime in the next couple months, I'm going to get them some real ones so we can go out some more. But like that to me is because I don't have as much um, control isn't the right word, but like as much time with them
Yeah.
to kind of put them in different things. Like I can take them surfing. There's no season for that. I mean, summer, but there's no like baseball season. And then
Right.
dirt biking, same thing. There's no like specific time where they have to be at a certain place. It's us going. So like the way I looked at that was like, this is something that we can do on the weekends, maybe not every weekend, but this is something we can do on the weekends. And then I'd like, I mean, and they love it. I mean, it's kind of wild. But then there's different parks all around South Carolina and Georgia and everywhere that you can take and you can go spend the night. So you can take the bikes, spend the night there, and they can go and ride trails and stuff like that. So like as they get older, this is something I think that could grow with them as long as they
Yeah.
still like it. Again, not going to force it on them, but you know, it's something we could do for the foreseeable future that doesn't have a finite start and finish time.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of parenthood, and I've talked about this before. Of that when our kids get to a certain age, it's more so what we do as opposed to what we say that they get attached to. So they saw you doing a dirt bike and like, I want to do that. They see you doing things and they're like, I want to do that because my dad is doing that. And that's how my daughter, my youngest, she ended up getting into jujitsu and MMA because I was always going. And then there was sometimes where I had to bring her to class with me. She sat in the corner with her toys and stuff, and she saw me doing it. She's like, okay, I want to do that. So, and
Yeah.
then now, and again, like you said, not forcing her, like now she's transitioning to where she wants to do gymnastics. Where I'm
Yep.
like, I want you to stay doing this
I see.
because, I want you to be able to protect yourself, that discipline. And I'm not going to be like, well, no, no gymnastics because I want you to do this. Like, hell, gymnastics will actually help you be better at jujitsu and MMA. So, just letting them explore and figuring out what they like and like, okay, because we know with kids, they're gonna
Well,
like something for a while and then they're not. It goes either
oh,
way.
100%, 100%. And that, I think that's the thing though too, is like, I think one of the things that I was always, the way I was kind of brought up is if you start something, you finish it. You don't have to go back for season two if you don't like it, but if you start, you're going to finish. And so that's the only thing, is if you start gymnastics, whatever it is, if you start it, you're going to the end. If you don't want to do it next year, that's fine. You've learned,
Yeah,
but you made a commitment and you're sticking to it, because
yeah,
that's going to bolster them over time. Um, but yeah, I mean, like you said though, it's like it's hard because you see the path, because they can't see it, but you see the
yeah,
path they could go down, and you're like, oh, if you just stayed on this path, you'd be better off. But at the same time, like you said, gymnastics could actually help her in jujitsu. So like
yeah,
maybe she does gymnastics for a little bit and goes, I don't want to do this. I want to throw guys around on the mat, and then she goes
yeah,
back to jujitsu. You know what I mean? So it's that's the struggle, I think, for me. It sounds similar for you too. Is it's just, and I'm probably a lot of parents, but it's just like I don't want to I don't want to be overbearing, but I also want to make sure that they're not doing stupid shit. I
yeah,
mean, and they're my girls are young; they're 8 and 7. So I mean, like the dumb shit they do is there's not a whole lot of consequence to it. But like once you
yeah,
start getting to high school, like that was the biggest thing with my dad. He was like, listen, my mom was very strict when I was growing up, and I needed that. I did. When I got to high school, uh, I wasn't doing the same dumb shit that most people were doing, but I was doing a little bit.
yeah,
And one of the things my dad told me is, listen, I know you're gonna drink. I can't stop you. You're gonna figure it out. Like you're a smart kid. You're gonna figure out how to get whatever you want. And I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, that's probably true. But if you get in a situation where you shouldn't be driving, call me. I'm not going to give you shit. You're not going to get in trouble, but I want you to know that I'm here if you need me. And I was like, all right, cool. So, that also gave, you know, he was giving me the respect of giving me that opportunity
yeah,
of not just like, you know what I mean? Like he was like, hey, listen, I know you're gonna do this shit.
yeah,
I respect you as a person enough to understand you, and just don't do anything stupid, you know? And I was
yeah,
like, no, that's fair. So I'm like, either we'd do woods parties. That's, when we were growing up. So like I just spend the night out there. I had a Tacoma with a camper shell and a futon in the back, and I'd bring a grill and cook hot dogs and get hammered. It was fun times, man.
But I think that's a real thing of by us, doing a lot of the dumb shit we did when we were like I did a lot of dumb shit. And I laughed earlier when you said, that second child is the one that I was the second child. So it's like my sister, she had good grades, she went to college, she did the right things. And here I come like just wilding out being a knucklehead. But I like what your pop said to the point of like, hey, I'm not going to tell you don't do this. I'm not going to try to control you. Yet, here's the situation. If something happened, I'll be there. And I think as parents, that's a big thing that we have to do because we know if we try to isolate or tell them you better not, that's going to make them want to do it more.
100%, 100%.
Right?
Because you can't tell me not to do something. in
Yeah.
business, in life, and whatever. You tell me no, okay, I'll figure it out.
Yep.
It's a challenge at that point. So
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And that's the crazy part about it because on one hand, we tell them, don't let nobody tell you you can't do something. You can do whatever you want to do. You can put your mind
That's
to it.
right.
And then the next
And
part is like, hey, you better not do that.
better not
Don't
do
do
that
that.
shit.
And you're like, well,
Yeah.
I was taught that I can do whatever I want. Would be whatever I want. But it's that point of, like I say, giving them the facts. And I know when I was younger, that was what it was for me. Well, my pop's like, hey, if you choose to have sex, you need to wear protection. I'll give you protection because here's the consequences of not wearing protection. You can either catch something or you can have a child. That's what's going to come with it. I'm not saying you better not do it. I'm just telling you this is the facts, and here's the way to protect yourself.
Yep. Be smart.
Yep, and
Yeah,
that's
man.
how we got to do it.
Well, and you said something too about how you tell them they can do anything they can do anything they want and
Yep.
not to let everybody tell them. So it's not as often now, but when they're a little bit younger and even now here and there, but like at night when they would go to bed, I'd just say, hey, listen, what do we say at night? And they're like, I am beautiful, I am smart, I'm strong, I'm kind, and they'd add something else, and the end is like, I can do anything I put my mind to. And I can't remember where I heard that, but when I heard it, I was like, that is going to be their nighttime mantra to themselves.
Yeah.
And I have to at this like at that stage when they were, I mean, they're probably like 4 and 5 at the time, maybe even younger than that. But up until now, like it's me leading it, whereas I'm hoping that it sticks so that they start telling themselves that when they get older, and it stays,
Yeah.
in their head all the time, because it's just like anything, man. If you say it enough, it just sticks.
Yep.
So that was one thing. I can't remember if it was on a movie or something, but anyway, I heard that. I was like, ooh, that shit gave me chills. Like that's definitely happening.
Yeah.
So
And that's a big thing. Like, I'm glad you brought that up for sort of people that's listening, and you have young kids or you're getting ready to have a kid. Of if we use affirmations, if we have positive self talk for ourselves, and we realize what that does for us as adults, imagine if we put that on our kids at a younger age. Like, hey, because up until some point, kids automatically think they can do whatever they want to do. Like, they
oh
want
yeah,
to be a superhero, they're gonna be a superhero. They want to be, a doctor, they could be that. At some point, something in society, upbringing, or incident happen where they stop believing. But if we instill those things into them, of those affirmations, like I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm beautiful, I can do anything I want to do, they're gonna hold on to that. And as they get older, there's gonna be some times in their life where that shit is gonna come back and it's gonna help prepare them past any situation that they're going through.
well, it's it's building that um not self-esteem, but like it's building that within them to know that they are capable, and then they're going to naturally do stuff and succeed, and then they're going to feel like my youngest, man, she is she is very competitive, which I
Yeah.
know where she gets it from. But
Yeah.
she has not learned, and to be fair, I don't think I fully learned 100% of the time either. But she's not learned how to win gracefully and lose gracefully. Nobody likes to lose ever. I hate losing. But when you lose, you're learning. So that's what I've kind of been trying to like transition that, because she would get upset. She'd cry. I mean, like, I'm talking about like dumb shit. Like, it's not even playing a sport. It's just her and her sister like doing
Yeah.
handstands, and she loses, and they're doing 30 of them, but she loses because she didn't win that one time. You know what I mean? Like, and now she's a little bit better, but before she'd full out cry about it. I'm like, hey, what the hell, man? It's good doing it again. So it's getting into that thing of like, one, I don't want you to stop trying,
Yeah.
because when you stop trying, that's when you truly fail.
Yep.
But you also need to understand that if you win, you're not rubbing somebody's nose in it, because you could lose tomorrow. And would you like
Hmm.
that had to happen to you? So it's it's interesting. I mean, and it's one of those things where I've had a lot of moments over the last 8 years with them where I look back at my parents and go, shit, I was an asshole. You know what I mean? Like
Lis-
you don't think about it from the kid standpoint until you have them, or the parent standpoint until you have the kids.
it's funny because I always say that about my older daughter. I'm like, yeah, like at a point in our when she was growing up and our relationship, I'm like, this has to be payback from me and my parents around that time. Like it
Oh
has to
yeah.
be. And
Yeah, and
so, yeah, because my oldest daughter is 23. So we went through that phase of rough shit. And then now she's a grown woman who's doing amazing. She even looked back like, okay, it makes, now I get what dad was saying. I get all.
yeah. Well, and that's the rub of it too, man, is like, you know, you're planting seeds now. Like for me, I'm planting seeds now that aren't gonna bloom until they're, 18, 19. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yep.
it just they're not ready for whatever that is at that moment because they're still young. And I want to prepare them, but I also don't want to ruin their childhood either. Like I don't want them to be overly, you know, concerned about working and all that kind of stuff. I want to instill a good work ethic in them, and that's why if they have their toys all over the house, I'm like, hey, listen, you're gonna pick all this crap up because you put it out there, or it'll be gone and you'll never have to worry about picking it up again. But so instilling that stuff early on, and then they're not going to fully. I mean, in fact, I didn't fully appreciate half the stuff that my parents taught me until I was in my
Yeah.
20s. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't hit, and because you're not functioning on a full brain yet, especially guys. But um, it's
It's funny you say that though, because it goes back to one of those old quotes to be like, the game doesn't change, just the players. So like, and that's one thing
right.
I had to think about, like with my parents, and I was one of those kids, like, you don't understand, you don't understand what's going on now. And then as I'm older, and then my daughter hit me with that. I'm like, what the fuck you mean I don't understand? Like, oh, I understand more than you think I understand. But it's that
That's right.
cycle.
Yeah,
It's
well,
that
and
cycle.
but it's never. I mean, it's the process, man. Like it's the process of growing up and learning. Like my dad would tell me, he's like, "Listen, you can do it my way or the hard way, and see which one hurts more." And I'm like, "Well, shit, I'm gonna do it my way. Fuck you." you know, I
And
did
that
that
ends
about
up
a
being the
handful of
hard
times.
way.
That's right. And a handful of times, I was like, "Yeah, that ain't it. That ain't it. I'll just listen to you next time. Thanks." But I mean, I mean, same as like coaching.
Yeah.
You've probably got coaching clients that you have to beat over the head to get a point across because they're like, I'm going to do it my way. It's like, well, why are you coaching with me if you're going to do it your way? You can do that without coaching. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and I'm listen. I've had coaches. I still have a coach, and it's difficult at times because I don't want to do the shit that they tell me to do,
Yep.
and I know I should, and I do like 80% of it, but that last 20% is where the money is. So it's all encompassing. I mean, like even though you're an adult doesn't mean you ain't still acting like a kid sometimes.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And you realize that in business, like the industry we in, you realize that a lot. Like, yeah, this person is a certain age, but damn it, they still act like a kid. Like,
Well,
like
and my thing was too, having kids I think was the best thing to for me, uh in the realm of patience, because you can't lose your cool with your kids. It doesn't work. It's going to just mess them up more than you could even think. But you also have adults that act like kids. And so
yeah,
there, I'm like, I think my kids could buy this house better than you could because y'all are
yep,
acting like a fool. So it's one of those things where that was early in my career without kids. I would lose my cool faster about dumb shit. It was still wrong. They were still wrong, but it was me reacting to it versus post kids. I'm like, all right, I don't need to blow this deal up because this guy's an asshole. We just need to work through it and it'll be fine. And 90% of the time, none of the clients know what's going on. They
yeah,
don't need to know. If there's
yep,
some beef going between you and the agent, who gives a shit? It ain't nothing to do with them. Or if it's something that, it was not factually correct or whatever, correcting that without making the other agent feel like a dumbass. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's inevitable. But
Yeah, so it's funny you just brought that up because that was that was a direction I wanted to go, and I'm glad you already went there. Was like, what has being a father taught you about patience and resilience? Like, and you already went there before I even had the chance to ask that. I'm like, yeah, kids, because kids we know that will push you right to the edge right
oh
before
man,
you're gonna go over, and they just keep poking to see how far they can go, and it drives us crazy, but it also prepares us for dealing with the outside shit.
yep. Well, and I got a perfect example. So Charlotte, my youngest, being number two, I was bathing them. She might have been 2 years old, maybe, and I was giving them a bath, and she kicked her sister. I told her, Charlotte, don't kick your sister. She play a little bit, kicks her again. I was like, all right, Charlotte, don't kick your sister. And then she does it a third time. And I'm like, if you kick your sister again, I'm gonna pop your bottom. Now, when I say pop your bottom, she's two. Keep in mind, it was like that. It was
Yeah.
not a spanking by any means. But she looked me dead in the eyes and was like, bunk, and kicked her right looking at me, kicked her. I was like, shit, I'm gonna have to pop your bottom now. And I did. And again, she took a second, like I did it, and she was just like, and then looked at me and just started bawling. And I'm
Um,
like, oh my God, now I know why my parents said it's gonna hurt me more than it hurts you, because that
yep.
just kills me. That killed me. And so we, again, 2 year old, we had a conversation about it after the fact, told her I loved her, hugged her, we both cried. um, and it was fine. But they are going to test you. Your clients are going to
Yeah.
test you. Everybody is
Yeah.
going to test you, and it's how
Everybody.
you respond to that, not react to it. That I
Yeah.
think is the key. And I mean, hell, I've had clients, and you probably had the same, where you have a client that you know either uses somebody else or gives you some excuse on why they're not going to work with you, and then magically they circle back around. Well, if you'd have burned that bridge, that'd have been done. Now you
Yeah.
have a client for life, because not only did you stick with them and not just throw them into the throw the baby out with the bathwater, you stuck with them. They tried something they didn't like. They came back to you. They ain't never leaving again, ever
Nope.
leaving again.
Nope.
So if you can prevent yourself from reacting to that short-term loss and focus on the long-term gain. I mean, I've had clients that I lost them. I didn't even know they had bought something else. That's how out of touch I was with that client. And that's
Yeah.
on me for not staying in touch. It still sucks, don't get me wrong, but it is what it is. And so, I do these Kringles every year for Christmas. And I was like, hey man, you know, I think I must have dropped the ball somewhere. I don't know what happened, but it looks like y'all bought and sold. Um, what's your new address? I still got this Kringle for you. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I mean, you're still a client of mine. You've always been a client of mine. Like, I'm gonna still give you one. He goes, well, that's really cool. I was like, yeah, man, and hopefully I can earn your business back, whatever. And not with this, but just in general. And
Yeah.
so it's stuff like that where, maybe he never uses me again. I don't know, but he might.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and I'd like to, relate that too on just in life in general. Like when I was a knucklehead, I got in trouble, like got into some trouble because I let my emotions, you know, get the best of me. Where I end up going to jail, end up dealing with some bullshit because of that. And that was a lesson learned of me starting to realize, like, hey, like you said, gotta control your emotions. Can't let things push you to the edge where you go over the edge. Like, you got to be
yep,
able to rein it in and, just think logically instead of emotionally. And luckily, I was able to come back from that situation and, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But that was like one of those life things like, shit, like 1 second of a bad decision. And literally, that's what it was. 1 second bad decision. And that actually happened twice in my life. 1 second of a bad decision could have changed the trajectory of my life so bad.
well, and good. in a different
Yeah.
situation. You know what I mean? Like, so that's where I think a lot of people over the years, I've had 46 vehicles and 42 since 2010. I've made money on all but like three of them, or I broke even. So I had a free truck or a free car for however long. And when 2021 hit, they had the chip shortage, and I bought two trucks right before it really got crazy, and I sold both of them to dealerships and made $26,500 off two trucks. And that was insane. Like, that never happened ever before. It was COVID. It was
Yeah.
fall. I mean, it was a artificially created market. But everybody's like, "Oh, you're so lucky." I'm like, "Nah, that ain't luck, man. Like, I've been doing this. I was flipping washers and dryers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing this game for so long. I got lucky in the sense that it was good timing, but
Yeah.
it wasn't that I knew. I didn't get lucky to just buy this and then all of a sudden, I made money. Like, I'd been doing that. It just
Yeah.
the amount of money changed. So it's that 1 second decision can be something super bad and change your trajectory in a negative way, or if you're ready for it, it can change your trajectory in the positive and catapult you to the next level. And you never. That's the tricky thing about it, is you usually don't know when that's going to happen, because you
Yeah.
can't plan for that. Like, it could
Yeah.
be somebody that's sitting next to you at the bar and you're having a conversation. Shit, I was at the gas station yesterday. I think it was yesterday. And this guy walks up. He's like, "Hey, man, that's a big ass truck you got there." I was like, "Yeah, it is." He's like, "What you haul with that?" I was like, "People, showing them homes." He's like, "What the hell do you have a diesel pickup truck for?" I was like, "I like them, man. I've had, I don't know, 14 of these things." And we just started bullshitting. He goes, "Well, hey, I do some kind of, I think it was insurance, but like casualty." He did a bunch of different insurance. He had a bunch of different
Yeah.
insurance products for high net worth people. And he gave me his card. I was like, "Listen, I'll link up you." And I literally have the card sitting right next to my computer right now, because I haven't contacted him yet. I'm going to do it today. But I don't know where that's going to go. But that
Yeah.
conversation could put me, and I think he was from either New Jersey or New York, so they've got a bunch of people that moved down. Like,
Yeah.
that could turn into tons of business. No idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where, instead of me being like with my headphones and not paying attention, having a quick conversation, who the hell knows where that goes, man?
Yeah.
And that's
And and I just wanted to say this before I forget about it, but that also is that 1 second of being in the mindset of not just jumping off the edge, because it could have been another person who the guy called him up to him, asked that question. He's like, "Why the fuck you asking me that for? Like, why? Why you worried about that? Why are you in my business?" So it's like
yep,
being logical and not emotional, or not thinking in a negative light. That now, like you said, you don't know what this could turn into something huge, as opposed to somebody responding in a way like, "Why the fuck you in my business? Like, don't worry about why I
yeah.
got this or what's going on with that."
Well, and that's the thing, man. Is like, it also kind of depends on what time of the day and what's happening and all that kind of. Because, I mean, shit, we're human, man. Like, you're not going to
Yeah.
be rosy all the time. Shit's going to
Yeah.
hit, and you're gonna not be in a position to respond the way you want, and that emotion's going to get the best of you. It happens. Ideally, you don't let it happen too often, but it happens. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah.
if he'd have caught me on a different day, I couldn't tell you if I'd have been like, yeah, it's a truck, man. Leave me the fuck alone. You know what I mean? Because I'm working through whatever the hell I'm working through, and
Yeah.
that's another thing, just in general. And I've heard it before, and you probably have too. Is just like, you don't know what other people are going through, so give them as much grace as you can. Now, to an extent, of course, but
Yeah.
um, you never know what somebody's been through, or they're going through, or whatever.
Yeah.
And when you're in that position, I'm sure you'd want somebody to give you some grace. So just
Yeah.
do the best you can. Now, I say this: do as I say, not as I do, I guess.
Yeah. But to that point, that is right. I remember one of my old mentors said that it was like, somebody cuts you off in traffic. Yeah, there are some people that just assholes that just drive stupid. Like, we know that. But even like, what if the person that cut you off in traffic, they was rushing to the hospital because they just got some bad news,
Yep.
or they got a call that, unfortunately their house is on fire and they have to hurry up and get back there because their pets are in there. Like, we don't know their situation, and
Yep.
not even a full second of inconvenience of us getting cut off shouldn't affect us in a way that now we are just turning into this negative person because we don't know what they're going through. We don't know what their situation is.
Well, and I love this because this is one of those things where I feel like ADHD is a superpower because in that scenario, I'm going to I'm going to be frustrated. I'm probably going to yell at the person, depending on how bad the cutoff was. They're not going to hear me because it's going to be in my truck. And
Yeah.
then within 5 minutes, I've forgotten all about that. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
I don't hold that kind of shit. And I mean, like that's a small example, but like in life in general, if someone does you wrong, the only person it hurts by you being angry is you. So
Yeah.
if you can let that, I mean, now again, I listen. There's a lot of shit that I've let go. I was a bouncer. I don't know if I told you this, but I was a bouncer right out of college, and I learned patience there too. Because as a bouncer, you can't just go and beat the shit out of people and talking shit.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of corral them, get the drunk 12-year-olds out of the bar. Let's go.
Yeah.
But like I had people call me everything under the sun. So like I'd go out after that and somebody wants to bow up to me because I'm 6'5" and they're 5'4". I'm like, dude, listen, man, like this isn't gonna end well. Like, can we just not, And I talk, I'm like, hey, how about I grab you a beer? And they're like, what? I'm like, dude, I don't want to fight you. The bouncer's over there waiting to throw somebody out. Like, I just want to hang out and have a good time. What are we doing here? So it's I don't know, man. It's one of those things where you do the best you can with what you got and
Yeah.
and try to get better every day.
Yeah. So I've been on this stoic route over the past, I want to say a year or so, or probably a little bit under a year. And one of the big things is like, it's not the situation, it's your perception of the situation. And then another one, it's kind of along the same lines. It's just like, it's not what happened, it's how you react to what happened. So that's a big thing of like, person cut me off, person say this, do that. It's not that. It's how I'm going to respond and how I am going to react to what that person did or said.
Because you can't control what somebody else is going to do. You can only control what you're going
Yeah.
to do, and it's hard. I mean, don't get me wrong, it ain't easy. But I mean, like talking about Stoic. What was it? The obstacle is the way, and that
Oh
was
man.
that book. That book. If y'all haven't read that, I absolutely would suggest reading that book. I got it somewhere in my office.
Look,
I'm looking for it
look,
now, but
it's right here in my book.
see, he got it.
My birthday.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
I got
I'm
it.
almost
I
done
don't
with
have
it.
it. I
Yeah.
don't have it that handy. But that book, um, it, it it's kind of the same thing as like there are no failures unless you stop trying.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there are going to be things that come up in your life that are going to push you back. You feel like you're getting headway, and then you go 5 steps back. That's going to happen all the time. And if it's not happening, you're not trying hard enough. So
Yeah.
like getting through that fear of failure is difficult, but you just got to do it. And then this one threw me off, the fear of success. And I was like,
Yep.
why would anybody fear success? I'm like,
Yep.
well, because it comes with new responsibilities and new roles, and maybe you're not ready for that role yet. But
Hmm.
that's where you say you want to go, but you're doing the same shit you were doing the last 2 years, and you're not getting there. And it's not because you can't; it's because you're not changing yourself to be the person you need to be to hit that goal. So
Yep.
it's interesting, man. Like I've learned a lot over the last 10, 15 years reading different books and just kind of getting into that headspace of like what don't I know? It's a lot, but
Yeah.
what don't I know specifically related to real estate or business in general that can help build me as a person, and then I can then help others, whether it's team members or other agents around the country. Because that's one thing that I loved about joining KW is that one, the agents were willing, most of the agents were willing to share anything and everything in your market center, outside, whatever, doesn't matter. But I'd already been doing that with agents that were at my previous brokerage. It just got to the point where I was just giving and I was never getting
Yeah.
anything back. And I didn't do it to get stuff back, but it was just like draining me and sucking time out of my day. And I was like, man, I don't love this. And so, I mean, I moved out of the, after I moved to KW, I was there for a little while, some of the same stuff. I mean, not as often, but I finally ended up moving out of the office and buying my own office condo, just so I could have my time to me. And then when
Yeah.
I want to go in the office and I want to be helpful, then I can do that purposefully. And I'll drop a check, or go in there and just cruise around the office, see who's in there, bullshit, bullshit. Hey, what you got going on? You got anything new coming up? Blah blah, whatever. Just checking in,
Yeah.
and then that'll gives me that feel good, because I enjoy helping people, but I need to be able to do it on my time, not theirs.
Mm. Yeah. And that's a big thing because I'm the same way. Of it gets to a point where we pour that we have to make sure we're refilling our cup, because
Yep,
you can pour so much to where you're empty. Now you're burnt out,
yep.
and you love helping people, but you can't help as many people as you want to help because you are running on fumes and you're running on empty. Yeah.
And I think that's where, like, different uh conferences, and seeing, and it's wild, because like I joined KW in 2019, and I had been with my dad first, then another, like a small boutique, and then another boutique brokerage for, shit, at that point probably 12 years. So I didn't know what I didn't know, and I had no idea that the conference even existed. Like, I went to like
Yeah.
one uh, realtor association conference at one point. It was local though, so I already knew like half the agents. So I mean, it wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
But like going to a national conference just opened my eyes. And the first one I went to, and this is a pro tip for anybody that hasn't been, don't try to go to all the breakouts. You're never going to get them. Your brain's going to turn to mush.
Hmm.
Don't do it.
Yep.
Have a goal in mind when you before you leave, and if you can set up some time with people before you head out, even better. But just know that your schedule is going to get completely screwed up, because what's going to happen is you're going to meet somebody, and then you're going to talk to them and go down this rabbit hole, and then you're going to fuck your whole day up. So
Yep. Yep.
know that's going to happen, and that's what you want to have happen. Like, the entire intention for me was, once I realized it, I went mega camp, and the first 2 days I was going to everything. I was like, I got to soak up all this knowledge. I
Uh-huh.
don't even know any of the shit that I'm doing, and then I was just burnt out. And like the third day, someone was like, "Hey, you going to the convention center?" I was like, "Man, I don't think so, dude. I'm tired." And like, well, how much stuff are you going to? I was like, I went to this. Oh no, man, hit like three
Yep.
things that you really want to learn about, and then just network and meet
Yep.
people and talk with them. And I mean, like, dude, from April of 2019 to December of 2019, and probably really August, give or take, to December, I did $25,000 in GCI from agent referrals, and had never had that before, ever, because it wasn't an option. And then the next
Yep.
year I did 77,000, got up to 150,000 one year. Last year I think I did like 113. So like I'm averaging about 100 grand a year in agent referrals. But that was my intent coming into KW, knowing they had this large referral network. I'm like, if I can't make money in that, nothing
Yeah.
else is going to matter.
Yeah.
So I'm going to focus on that, and I did, and it's worked out well. I mean, I don't get every single referral, but that's life, man. So
Yep.
we got one just 2 days ago. It's I don't know, man. It's people ask me why I went to KW, because I was paying $2,400 a year to go to 24,000. I was like, I mean, this is why. Like, this is,
Yeah.
and then there was more. Like, the ancillary benefits of it have been astronomical, but the initial was because of this referral network that I wanted to tap into. And then lo and behold, I've got friends across the country that I would have never had before, and are people that I went to in some of the, darkest moments of my marriage, where,
Mm.
shit was getting sideways, and I needed somebody to, kind of talk me off the ledge, because I didn't
Yeah.
want to go beat the shit out of this guy. So
Yeah.
um it was wild to experience that with essentially strangers. You know what I mean? Like, I met them for, I don't know, 4 days in person, 3 days in person, and then I'm still talking to a lot of them today. And it still
Yeah.
see them, and it's one of those things where I'll never lose that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy because I just came back from a wedding from somebody, that I met through, the KW world. And it's like, damn, like I hopped on a plane, went to a whole another state for their wedding, hung out, and came back home. But to your point of those relationships that is built by you just putting yourself out there, by you going into, the different arenas, and it builds business, but also it builds that camaraderie of those people that you look at it like this is family now. These people are
100%.
family.
Well, and the business is just the bonus of it, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I'm going out there. I'm going to Mega Camp to see my people, hang out, have a good time, pick up a couple nuggets of knowledge to bring back to implement, and meet some new people to put in to my network essentially.
Yeah,
But I mean, there's plenty of people that I've been talking to for almost 6, 7 years now that have never sent me any business. I don't, they probably never will. That's fine.
hmm,
That's not what my intention was. My intention was to meet a bunch of people where the business will come, and if I can help in any way along the way, then so be it. And if it's one of those things where they're benefiting from my knowledge and I'm benefiting from their friendship, that's a win.
yeah,
If I send
100%.
them business and they never send me any business, that's a fucking win because they're winning. I mean, I met a guy in um, North Carolina. He was out of Myrtle Beach, and he was. It was funny because he rightfully called me an asshole, and I was like, "Yeah, you're not wrong." But he came up. We were kind of chatting, whatever, and he goes, "Yeah, so I did 10 million in this year in volume." I'm like, "That's cool. Tell me when you double it." He goes, "What?" I was like, "Bro, 10 million. I mean, like that's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking you for doing that, but like I wouldn't rest on that. Go do
Yeah,
more." And he goes, "Shit. Well, I thought I did pretty good." I'm like, "I'm not saying you didn't do good. I'm just saying you can do better. If you can do 10 million, you can do 20 million." And it's
yeah,
just I kind of like peed in his cornflakes a little bit, and I was like, "Hey, listen, man, let me get your number. If you ever have any questions, let me know. I'm doing 20 plus million. So like I understand what it looks like to get to that point. I've been where you're at. If I can help in any way." And then I would send him some books and stuff like that. That I was like, "Hey, this is a good book. You should check out for whatever it was. I can't remember now." And so the coolest call that I got was a year later. He goes, "Fuck you, man. I got 20 million." I was like, "There you go. You're welcome." He goes, "What do you mean you're welcome?" I was like, "Well, I pushed you. Otherwise, you'd have been doing 10
yeah,
million." I was like, "I'll
yeah.
take my 25%."
No, but that goes back to you know when we started the conversation about being in that environment in those big rooms that forces you to level up. Like
Yeah.
he probably doesn't really see it, but he does see it because he took it out of his time to call you and say, "Hey, I hit the 20."
Yeah. Yep.
But it's like if anybody else would have said that to I did 10, you'd be like, "Oh, that's amazing. You're doing a great job."
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
would have just
Pat him on
stayed
the
there.
back. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's comfortable. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not knocking that volume. I don't give a shit, man. You do whatever the hell you want as far as your business. If you can make 100 grand, and that's all you need. Cool. I want more. That's just me. But it was exactly to your point. It's like, and I don't know, I don't remember, but like maybe he was in a market center where 10 million was like top five producers in the,
Yeah.
in the whole market center. So now you're feeling really good about yourself, but then you go to these national or even regional events, and I mean, shit, I'm meeting people that do hundreds of millions in volume. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
god, like
Yeah.
what am I doing with my life? Um, so it's like it's one of those things where, but those are the people that you need to go and talk with because they have been where you are, and you can't measure their success today based on where you are today because you ain't where they are. And you're not
Yeah.
going to be able to compete with them because they have more knowledge, more experience, more leverage, whatever it is. They've got that over you because they built it. And
Yeah.
it takes time, and that's the thing. I mean, I got my license in '06 while I was still in college, and I did property management for like 5 years and then went back to school, got an MBA, which I did not need, but it paid off my motorcycle loan that was 17%, and I got a 4% student loan, so that was a win. But anyways, and then after that, I was like, well, I strapped myself with all this debt. I need to shit or get off the pot with this whole real estate thing, because I need to start making money, or I need to stop spending it on, the dues and shit. And that next year was the first year I was intentional about sales and started rolling. I don't know that I could do that today. Like if I was in a different career or different industry and then came into real estate with all the responsibilities I have right now, not knowing a thing about what I've done, I'm sure I'd probably be okay, but the trajectory would be a lot different. I would go a different route because I wouldn't be able to make the level of income that I'm making now just starting out and being able to cover all the bills and everything else that comes with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, my brother. Like, man, had a good conversation. So before we wrap up, I always ask my guests to do two things. So first thing I always ask my guests is to, if there's one piece of advice you can leave for the listeners, what would that be? And the last question I ask them is, if there was one thing you can go back and tell your younger self, what would that be?
All right. So for the piece of advice, I think we already kind of talked about it a little bit, but I would
Yeah.
say, you know what? I'll give you this. Answer your damn phone, do what the fuck you say you're going to do, and time block. If you do those three things, you will be in the top 10 percentile of agents nationwide, because it sounds stupid simple, because it is. Just do it.
Do
And
it.
again, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that I, end all be all, but if you can do those three things, you'll win. And then what I would tell my younger self, man, buy Apple stock.
You know what? Yeah.
No, I think that, I had, so I grew up with my dad and my grandfather and my uncles all in commercial and residential development. So I was on the periphery of real estate, like as a kid, and I saw some stuff. I wish that I'd asked more questions. I wish that I'd talked to my grandfather. That motherfucker was a visionary. He was way ahead of his time. He developed places in Charleston and around Charleston that people were like, "You're crazy. Nobody's gonna live there." Now it's like the heart of Mount Pleasant. Like it is the foresight he had was unreal. But I was too stupid to understand what that was and to ask those questions when he was with it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if the one thing that I would go back, and I think about this a lot actually, is to tell myself, ask more questions, close your mouth and open your ears and ask more questions. Because and of people that you want to be like, not just generally. Like,
Yeah.
if you've got somebody like my grandfather, like I should have been sitting in his office every day after school asking him questions. Should have been riding with him, going to, like different construction sites, and I did with my dad too, but like ask those questions and get ahead of it, because you can learn so much from other people's mistakes and you will get there that much faster.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
All right, my brother. I appreciate you for taking time out of your day to rock with me, and
Yeah,
looking
man.
forward to hanging out with my boy in person soon. And for everybody, thanks for checking into another episode of Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast where we help you tap into your full potential. And I'll see you next week. Peace.
This is Fresh Boy.